It's just saying something.
I haven't gotten a call.
Call this meeting to order. This committee of the whole. First matter of business is approval of the minutes for June 2nd and June 16th. Any changes, corrections, anything you want to? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept approve the minutes from June 2nd and June 16th, 2026.
I second.
Okay, I got a motion from Councilmember Pickett and a second from Councilmember Boland. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous, 5-0. Okay, first discussion item is a presentation from Waste Less Solutions from Councilmember Turner and Alex Golder.
Alex.
15 minutes.
Hi.
Welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
Alex contacted me and did a presentation for.
No, we're good. I'm
Jennifer.
just getting your thing.
Oh,
sorry. It's okay.
And me, and I thought what she had to say was really important and that the council and anyone else listening should be aware of your program, and it is in Murray, it's Murray based, so anyway, Alex.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me today and meeting with me originally. Was told that you're very into conservation, and so I was recommended to talk to you specifically, but yeah, so I'm very excited to be here today because I'm also very into conversation and conservation. So my name's Alex Goller. I am the CEO of a nonprofit called Waste Less Solutions, and is this just, should I scroll down or is it zoom in? Okay. So yeah, we are based in Murray. We operate out of the co-working space Indy Square, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, off 5600 South and 151 East. And we've been around since 2018, and we are dedicated to the education, prevention, and diversion of food waste here in Utah. So just to give you a little context on what we have currently going on in our state, around 600,000 tons or 1.2 billion pounds of food are wasted every year in Utah alone. Obviously, that problem is even bigger nationally, and that amount here in Utah equates to nearly the weight of 2 Empire State Buildings. At the same time, we have a huge issue with food insecurity in our state. So 16% of children under the age of 18 are experiencing limited or uncertain availability of food in Utah, meaning about 1 in 5 households with children are food insecure. That number of food insecure people actually went up in the last year. It was around 400,000 in 2025, and we're estimating it's growing. Largely that's because of changes to federal benefit programs, cost of living increases. There's a lot of reasons, but food insecurity is growing in Utah. Which, yeah, I used to say 400,000 in this presentation, so that is not good, obviously not the direction we want to go. And then around 800,000 individuals live in what's classified as a food desert, which is an area which is at least over a mile from accessible, fresh, nutritious foods. So other barriers including a lack of transportation, maybe they don't have a kitchen, other reasons that they can't prepare fresh, perishable foods for their families. So in addition to obviously all this extra food going to waste and there being people who are hungry, uneaten food is a huge environmental concern where the conservation element came in. Uneaten food rotting in the landfill is consuming about 25% of our landfills currently. There's actually a study, I don't know if it's finished yet, of the Transjordan landfill, what amount of that is food, which I think will be interesting to see if that matches this national number. In addition to the food rotting in the landfill, it's also a huge waste of fresh water and cropland resources when food that was manufactured and produced and transported then goes to waste. In addition, there's the greenhouse gas element. When food is rotting in the landfill, it releases methane gas, which is incredibly harmful, more so than the emissions released from cars. There are sealing elements that landfills are doing now that are trapping some of that methane, but regardless, we should still be letting less food go to the landfill. Preventing food waste is actually a climate change solution. So I personally obviously think about climate change a lot. I have a 19-month-old son, and I took this job when he was 6 months old largely because there was something that we could do about climate change. And it's estimated that reducing food waste is one of the largest things that you can do to lessen your carbon footprint, to help in the fight against climate change, as well as eating a more plant-rich diet. For the food recovery hierarchy, which is what we think about a lot in my line of work, obviously we want there to be less food waste at the source. That's our primary goal, is to educate people and prevent food waste. However, next most important thing is feeding those who are in need. So that's a huge focus of what our organization does as well. Then there's feeding animals, composting, and other elements of breaking down that food just in a more productive way than just letting it be in the landfill. So, Food Rescue is the primary program that we operate. We use a web-based application. It's called Food Rescue US, and we have over 600 volunteers throughout the counties we operate in who rescue this surplus food from any business you can think of that's generating food. Caterers, cafeterias, grocery stores, farmers markets, sometimes backyard gardens. We rescued from the Utah Arts Festival this year, so we talked to events. We've even been called by junk removal companies that are cleaning out like a huge food storage situation and have a bunch of freezers. I think the Ballerina Farm, which is a pretty famous influencer, they have a bunch of extra frozen meat that we're going to be taking and distributing for them. So it really runs the gamut on where food is coming from. And unless it's been served to people or has, unsafe food storage requirements, we can pretty much take almost anything. We'll get calls to take like 400 cases of shortening or something, and then our team is looking at where can that go. We had a garlic knot emergency one day, which was interesting. What we do then with that food is we distribute it to other nonprofits. So the YWCA is one of our huge partners, Boys and Girls Club, food pantries, homeless shelters, senior centers, and I should have pulled this, but I can show an actual list too of nonprofits like by city that we're supporting. So not only are people who are hungry getting this food, but then we're supporting other nonprofits in their operating costs by them having to buy less food for the people that they're serving, estimating that we're saving them, we have impact reports for each of them, but thousands of dollars every year. And we are operating in Salt Lake, Summit, Davis, and Weber counties currently. Since 2018, our founding, we have saved over 3 million pounds of food from reaching the landfill, which has equated to just over 2.5 million meals serving those in need. I'll go into a little more specific on my ideas and thoughts for partnership with Murray as a city or as city council members where I could see us working together, but essentially, if you are a restaurant or a food generating business, we can take that surplus food and donate it for you. As I mentioned, we do it safely. We provide reports on how much you're donating, where it's going, and what the environmental impacts are of that food donation. We always look for volunteers. Like I said, we're very volunteer dependent as far as the people moving the food. It's really easy to volunteer with us. You go to our website, sign up through the application, and then you can just see, oh, this restaurant has excess. I'm going to go pick it up, and I'm taking it right to the road home in that time. So that's kind of what differentiates us from more traditional food pantries. We're really nimble, we're really agile, and this is happening in real time for the most part. So yeah, we always need more people to help do rescues. And then if you need food, we don't serve food to individuals. We don't necessarily have the infrastructure yet, which is something we're desperately looking for. But we are able to serve other agencies, as I mentioned. So we do have an application on our website. If there are agencies we know of who are looking for food, that they can sign up, and hopefully we can match them with a food donor. So another program we operate in addition to the food rescue, we actually out of a church we rent in Murray, have a kitchen space that we rent where we'll sometimes bring groups in to prepare meals from, more of the raw rescued food that we have, and then we'll take those meals ready to eat to our partners. We also have mobile markets that we've been organizing to start looking at those food desert communities I mentioned earlier. We take our big refrigerated Sprinter van out into these areas, and we partner again with other organizations I think that's again a benefit of how we operate is we are not just really like throwing darts at the wall and seeing where they stick. We're operating with other nonprofits who are really well enmeshed in the community and know who needs the services, and then they're the ones helping us kind of spread the word out to these people. So those markets, we had about 14 last year, and I think we'll easily quadruple that number this year. And we give around 500 pounds of food out at every single one of those markets, and it's free. I say market, but you don't need to prove anything or show anything when you come. It's just food distribution. Finally, what I'm doing here today. So as I mentioned with that food recovery hierarchy, our biggest goal is to help people understand that there is something they can do to prevent food waste in their own lives, as a business, as an individual. I do a lot of lunch and learns at businesses, talking to employees about what they could do in their home lives. We share a lot of tips and tricks on our social media. We also have a food waste course on our website where businesses and households can go through and just sit with your family and learn, hey, what are we doing in our household or in our day-to-day lives that maybe we could be improving upon to be throwing less out. And just try to make people more aware of this and more intentional with their actions. Because 40% of the food waste we see is coming from households. So we are the problem. Obviously manufacturers, farms, we're seeing a lot of food waste there too, but the vast majority is coming from households. And then this is the main areas we're seeing that discarded food is a lot of produce, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you. You're maybe thinking of a head of lettuce right now in your fridge that you need to throw away. And prepared foods. A lot of people don't take leftovers or won't eat them or whatever. So this is just kind of an interesting chart of showing where that food waste is coming from. This is like a way crash course, super fast version of some quick tips and tricks that we like to share on how you can prevent food waste at home in your own day-to-day lives. Reorganizing your fridge, don't hide the fruits and vegetables away in a drawer where you're going to forget about them and they'll rot. There's a lot of ways you can store fruits and vegetables. We just did a tip on social media that if you put a towel in with your bag of spinach, it helps absorb some of the moisture that then makes the spinach rot, and it makes your bag of spinach last a lot longer. So we do all sorts of stuff like that where we share ideas that we've seen work well. Planning a leftovers night, getting creative with recipes, storing things again properly, sharing produce with your neighbors, and then hopefully you all know this, but there is an ugly produce section at every grocery store I've seen. They don't want you to see it very well, but it is there. And there's usually a section for meats and as well as like baked goods that it's way discounted. I will always go there for when I need meat, freeze it, and use it whenever I need it, even if it's expiring the next day. So just kind of thinking about we estimate that the average family is throwing away around $2,000 a year on just food that they're wasting. So there are a lot of things that we can do to not be doing that and to save a little bit of money. And this is just a quick caveat. Just do not live and die by expiration, sell by, use by dates. They're all different. I think the smell, taste test, look at it, cans, if they're bulging or dented, there's reasons, you shouldn't eat that. Infant formula is mainly the only thing we say you shouldn't eat as expired, but I would just use these with a grain of salt because for the most part, we live in a consumerist society that wants us to keep buying more and more, and a lot of people throw things out the second it says it's expired, but that's typically just it's freshest by that date and it can last usually a lot longer. So how I think that we could partner with Murray City, obviously, helping us engage more food-generating businesses that can become food donors for us would be a pretty obvious one. We are in desperate need of an infrastructure. As I mentioned, we rent a kitchen space right now out of a church in Murray, but we really need a more permanent space. We don't have a spot right now that people can come drop things off or where we can keep things even just for a day and then redistribute huge loads of food. We get really big loads from some grocery stores on the weekends. Food Bank doesn't usually pick up on weekends and holidays, so we get a lot on those times. And again, we get it out quickly, but when it's easy, we had, I think, 2,000 pounds of food over this past weekend just from one grocer because it was a holiday weekend, and again, had to think quickly, how could we get this out? So if we had a space where we could store some things in a fridge and a freezer, use the kitchen if needed. Commercial kitchen's the least important there though, but we just need more infrastructure essentially. We have a certification program. Homes can become Wasteless certified for a small fee. They then get the Protect Wild Utah is kind of the movement we're going for. They'll get a yard sign. that are actually all recycled signs from Park City Mountain Resort that we're repurposing, because we're trying to be, again, sustainable, but also get the word out. And they also go through a course, like I mentioned, on how they can be wasting less in their homes, and then we reward them with that, essentially by them being able to show their neighbors, hey, look, we're doing this cool thing. We started a partnership with Mill Creek City, where we had a garden gathering program that they kind of took over that they're calling Produce Pals. And essentially Mill Creek residents can sign up, have a cooler at their house, their neighbors can donate their excess garden produce. Then they have volunteers through Mill Creek City who pick that up, take it to Mill Creek City Hall, it's sorted there, and then it's back out into the community, going back to nonprofits in Mill Creek. We had that program ourselves, but we were noticing volunteers were going and picking up 4 moldy squash out of someone's cooler. And so we outsourced that program, and it's been working pretty well for them. We also have on our website drop-off locations for excess produce, so we are able to do that as well. The final 2 things I think would be really interesting to think more about, and especially with the influence that you all have, is if we could be a part of the event permitting process. When anyone's applying for a big event, while they'll be serving food, could they have, a recommendation to consult with us before the event so we could be prepared to pick up excess with them? And so we get a lot of requests day of or 2 days before, but having a little more foresight helps us a ton. And similarly, when a new restaurant is opening in Murray or any new food establishing business, could we, somehow be a part of that? So from the get-go, they're implementing processes that will enable them to throw away less and just be more intentional before they even open. This is our QR code to our website, our LinkedIn, my email. Obviously, you all have this in your packet. I welcome questions. I love to talk about this. Obviously, it's really hard for me to talk about it in 15 minutes, but I think I got out what I needed to, and I welcome any questions, feedback, comments. I'm not sure if there's time for that, but thank you so much.
You have 1 minute for questions, if anybody has any questions.
I was just looking at the food donors, I mean, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I think you have that list, but I didn't,
I gave it to
Or,
her.
oh,
All of
amazing.
us have.
Yeah, the receiving sites. How long have you been doing this?
The organization's been around since 2018. I just hit my year mark there, and we've grown rapidly. We were all volunteer run. We now have 3 staff, full-time staff, 4 part-time staff, and we are growing exponentially. The demand, supply and demand are both there. It's just, this infrastructure and building up the capacity so we can support the continued need on both ends.
Have you thought about connecting with Jim Brass, who's over the Children's Pantry?
I haven't connected with him yet. I feel like Kathy with the chamber has mentioned him to
Kathy
me.
White. Yes.
The problem we found with pantries is a lot of the food we get, it's not shelf stable. So we have to find a partner that's gonna get that food out quickly, which sometimes does work for pantries. But I think that's something that we've run into, but always happy to have that conversation.
What happens to the food once you get it and it's not distributed? Where do you throw it away or?
We
A
have
compost?
150 nonprofits that we talk to. If none of them can take it, or if it's not human safe, we just created a partnership with Roots High School. They're a charter school that have chickens. We have some partnerships with pig farmers. We've talked to Wasatch Community Gardens about composting. So that's actually something we're looking to expand. We've talked to Mountain West Hard Cider about taking some of the fruit we can't use or that people can't eat to turn into a cider. So our goal is to really then expand even what people can't eat. What are these other avenues? So we're working on that for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thanks guys.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Alex, that was great.
Thank you.
All right, our second discussion item is a discussion on the wastewater master plan. Ben Ford, you got 30 minutes. And you can introduce whoever you have with you.
Okay.
So this is Ridley Griggs. He's with Hanson Allen Luce Engineering. They're the engineering consulting firm that we've had do our last several master plans, the initial master plan and the updates since then. So we're gonna kind of let Ridley take the lead here.
Okay, thanks, appreciate your time, always good to be here. Questions at any point, just hop in. Like Ben said, I'm Ridley, I'm a project engineer and project manager with Hanson Allen Luce. I've been working with them for 10 years and Murray for almost that long, probably, so. So let's talk about what a master plan does. There are a couple of things. Number one, it tells us, or we assess, how are we doing right now in terms of the wastewater collection system? How's it performing? Are there any issues? Are there any deficiencies? How are we doing right now? And then once we quantify how are we doing right now, we'll look out to the future. We'll say, okay, Murray is growing, densifying, changing, whatever the case may be. How is the sewer system going to work in the future as those changes occur? And then from there, we look at what are the needs in the system, what new infrastructure projects are required, what maintenance projects are required. And then it forms the basis for future financial planning, including impact fees or rates. So where are we right now? Where are we going? How do we pay for it? Those are the questions we're trying to answer. And so we'll walk you through an overview of the process that we go through to determine that, and we'll talk about sewer pipes to do that. So the sewer pipes under the ground need to handle a few different components of flow. One we call infiltration, and that is water that leaks into the sewer through the ground. Now obviously we want to try and minimize that. It's a constant battle, you're never going to catch it all, and so you have to plan for some amount of it. So we analyze available data. The data sets that we have typically include how much water does Murray sell through a customer meter, and then how much water does Murray send to the treatment facility. And if we compare the difference between those numbers over several months, we can start to get an idea. And so we're seeing infiltration in Murray of about 600,000 gallons per day. A question we often get is that normal? Is that bad? How does it compare? And that can be a really hard question to answer because every city's different. Cities that are down lower in a valley with higher groundwater tables typically are gonna see more versus a mountain community which might see very little. The groundwater's just not there. So it's a hard question to answer. One thing we'll often do is look at the trend over time. And if it's going up, then maybe that indicates that there's a problem developing just as the system is aging. If it's staying stable, then the crews are staying on top of it. And this has not changed since we evaluated it 5 years ago. So we're seeing a pretty stable trend.
And one thing to note on this too, anytime when we're out TVing and surveying the system, we find a pipe that has significant infiltration coming into it, we move that to the top of our list, because that's clean, fresh water that's paying to get treated that doesn't need to be, right? So that immediately kind of moves to the hot spot of our lining list. That's our number one goal, is trying to eliminate as much infiltration as we can out of the system, so.
Yeah, so overall here again, constant battle. They worked hard to stay on top of it. We didn't see anything out of line or unusual, but we'll just want to keep it in mind moving forward. So next up is the wastewater generated from customers. And so to get to that, we will look at the water that was sold to the customer through the drinking water meter, because that is the primary generator of wastewater. So we've got pretty good data on this. It gets better all the time as technology improves. We can, oh boy, let's see. Perfect timing, huh?
It waited.
Okay, yep, all right. So we've got pretty good data on this, and this helps us understand where is the wastewater being generated, which pipes does it flow through, so we can look at that at a pretty fine scale, which is really cool. Sewer pipes also deal with what we call inflow, and that is water that comes into the pipes during a rainstorm or a snow melt event. So the manholes you see in the street typically aren't perfectly watertight. Sometimes they're vented, you'll see little holes in them. And that can let a little bit more water in, but it also can mitigate odor concerns. So the crews are weighing a trade-off there. And we reviewed the records. Again, what we'll do is look at what is the trend, what are the customers sending to the plant before it rains, and then we'll see what gets sent to the plant after a storm. And we'll look at storm events over the period of record and see what's going on. So this is a graphical example of what that looks like. We see a significant spike above the norm along with the storm, and we know, okay, we've got some inflow. So, excuse me, before we move on that. Again, similar question we get is how is Murray doing? And I would say probably below average as far as the amount of water that comes in during a storm event. We've seen some gigantic spikes in certain cities, and a lot of it, what it actually comes down to is how well is your storm drainage infrastructure doing? Because if you start to get storm water ponding on the surface, on top of a sewer manhole, then it's just going to leak at a really high rate. So addressing problems typically is done on the stormwater side actually, but we don't see a lot of that in Murray, so things are in pretty good shape on the inflow side. And then the other important piece that we need to plan for is an air gap. And there's a fun mathematical reason that I was forced to learn in school, so I put it up here. We won't dive into it, but the water actually flows a little better if there's a gap. If it gets all the way full or very close to full, there's more friction on the top end, which creates turbulence anyway. So it actually flows better that way. It also helps mitigate odors and corrosion problems. So when we think about how to plan for a sewer system, those are the components that we'll plan for. And then what we'll do is put it in what we call a hydraulic model. So a hydraulic model is a computerized representation of the pipes underground. So we store the geometric information that we have, what is the pipe's diameter, what is its material, how smooth versus how rough is it, how does it connect in with the others, what are our slopes. And once we have all that information, we can calculate how the water is going to behave as it goes down the hill. So the model is a great tool, it's really cool. But it's only as good as the data that we put into it. And so a big part of the process is working with the sewer crews to verify that we have good information and that we're representing things properly. So as a part of this effort, we installed flow meters to record actual data. We took elevations to make sure that it's more than just a theoretical concept, that it's matching what we see in the world. So that's our tool. Once we have our tool put together, we can analyze the existing system, and we can also analyze future conditions based on what we call a level of service. So if you read the report, some terminology you're going to see a lot, or an abbreviation you'll see a lot, is ERU, which stands for an equivalent residential unit. And that's just an easy way to think about wastewater flow generation, and it's defined as the average wastewater flow generation of a typical single-family residential unit. So if there's a restaurant that uses 10 times as much water as your typical single-family residence, then we'll count it for 10 ERUs in the report. And it's just a good way to add up all the flow generation in a consistent unit. So we'll add all that in, we'll consider infiltration and inflow as well, and that's how we analyze the system. So a few things that we noticed as a limitation, we're going to list on this slide. So first is at the Fairborn lift station, and a lift station probably, it's a pump station for wastewater. Ideally you just drain it all by gravity, but there are multiple low points throughout the city. So at the bottom of that low point, you'll install a pump station and a pipeline to pump it back up the hill. So
Where is the Fairborn lift station located?
great question. So I'll point your attention to the north end of the city, kind of on the east side on this map. It's not, the text isn't very big, but
It's just off of Fairborn Street, just north of 4500 South in the trailer park.
Okay.
242 East Detroiter, back in the trailer park is where it's located.
Okay.
But it takes, that lift station takes roughly a quarter to a third of the flow of the city kind of goes through that lift station. So it's a highly relied upon lift station, and the wet well, the holding time in there just isn't adequate for the flow that's going into the lift station in an emergency situation, yeah.
Yeah, so the lift stations are definitely a very critical spot. And we design all sorts of redundancy into these. We try and put more pumps in than we need because pumps, they clog, they burn out at times. But you also want to build enough holding space that if something does go wrong, that the crews can get an alarm, respond, get there on time, and address the issue before the wastewater backs up and it either spills, or it either can spill or it can back up into, worst case scenario, back up into somebody's basement. So lift stations we really want to stay on top of, and that's in looking at this Fairborn lift station, it doesn't have a large, we call it a wet well or a holding facility. So if something goes wrong, then these guys have to really hop on it.
And this one is extremely critical because it's a block away from Big Cottonwood Creek. So when we do have an overflow, which we've had a couple over the years of incidents that have happened there where pumps fail, stuff like that, we're within a half hour of potentially overflowing into the river, which isn't a good thing as well, so.
No, that wouldn't be good.
So, that's an issue we identified, is there's just not a lot of time for the crews to respond if there's an issue. So, we've also identified limitations in pipe capacity along the South State Street corridor. And then we've identified some other areas that based on the model are looking okay, but we've recommended that the crew just check periodically and keep an eye on. So figure 6-1 in the master plan report is a summary of those, what we call our existing deficiencies and limitations. So these aren't necessarily problems right now. I would say items A and B on this figure are really the most urgent as far as things that need to be addressed, and as we move forward, we'll talk about how to address those. The others are things that are working fine, they'll keep working for a while, but periodically we just recommend some monitoring or some spot checking to make sure that nothing's changing, we're still doing okay. So that's our existing system analysis. From there, we evaluate what happens in the future, what we project will happen in the future. And as we evaluate future projections, the first thing that we look at, is how is land use going to change? So that's what this figure is on the map here. So early on in this master planning process, we sat down with planning staff and we looked at zoning, we looked at the city's planning documents and said, okay, which parcels of land do we project will change significantly? And when they change, what is the new land use going to look like? So that's what we're showing on this map. There are several zones. There's the mixed use, MCCD. I forget what that means right now while I'm on the spot. And then TOD, transit oriented zones. You're familiar, I'm sure. Those are pretty well defined. So we went ahead and looked through code and figured out, okay, what are those going to look like in the future? And then some other areas we also identified where vacant parcels exist or developers are proposing things to happen. And we created this figure of estimated changes. There's also consideration in the planning for other things, for example, small parcels, accessory dwelling units, those kinds of things. We consider those as well. They don't show up on this figure. But they are accounted for in the growth projections. So once we define our future land use concept, we project how much wastewater the future residents and or businesses will generate. And so this table here in the report, it's expressed in terms of gallons per day per acre of developed land. So on this first row, you can see a single family residential development we project generates about 600 gallons per day per acre. And then at the maximum potential zoning of 100 units per acre on that third line, you're seeing 17,500. So obviously, the denser the development, and particularly on the residential side, the more wastewater it generates, and it can be a pretty significant difference. So coming back to that ERU, or that equivalent residential unit concept, we have a table in the report that quantifies existing conditions and future conditions. So the existing ERUs, if you let me round a little bit, we're about 14,400. And during that far future maximum build scenario, we're up to about 43,500. So a lot of that has to do with those zoning areas and redevelopment. I know at first glance you look at those numbers and those can sound pretty huge, but there's also a time component to it. We understand that that's going to come in over a long period of time, but with the sewer pipe potentially being in the ground for 100 years after we install it, we want to make sure that we are looking out at that long horizon so that we don't have to come in and rip it out before it's served its useful purpose. So there's a growth component, there's also a timing component, and we'll consider both of those to get to a capital project list. And we use the hydraulic model to do that. So we've got the hydraulic model of our existing system based on all those inputs that I reviewed. And then we also know where in the city we project growth to occur and how much wastewater it's going to generate. So we can essentially plug that into the model and understand where those future flows come from, how they flow through the system, and how they impact the existing pipes. And when we see things in the model start to back up and overflow, we know we've got a problem, and we'll use the model to figure out optimal solutions. When I say optimal, typically how big does the pipe need to be and what's a good alignment? And we'll use a lot of input from the city staff to figure that out as well. So when we looked at the future system, bring the Fairborn lift station up again. It's got some limitations now, and with future growth, if we don't do something, those limitations are gonna get worse. So that was identified with the State Street corridor, same thing, that's another area where we've already identified some limitations with more growth expected. So, and then we identified two other areas, which we're calling here the North Trunk Line and the South Trunk Line. And those will make more sense on the map. But it almost like there's something going on in each quadrant of the city, if you will. So if we start on the South State Street corridor, that's a pipe that's a little bit undersized right now. There's some projected development in the area. And so the solution there is to just replace that section of undersized pipe. If we look in the northeast toward the Fairborn lift station, our proposed project there, rather than make the lift station bigger or do a big overhaul there, it's a tricky site to do that. We're looking at actually diverting a good portion of the flow away from the lift station so it can flow by gravity and doesn't have to be pumped in the first place. That's good for energy savings, that's good for reliability, that's good for operator response time. So that's our recommended solution there. And then on this,
Can I ask a question?
please.
The ones that are on State Street, will the state help with that because that is theirs, or do we just do it and
No,
take care
yeah,
of it?
so it's our response, it's called State Street corridor, but this project is actually funded now. Been working on finalizing some easements through this project. So this project is already funded. It actually goes through like the old Chopco area. It runs kind of through the middle of their, towards the west end of their parking lot. And kind
Oh,
of down
okay.
through McDonald's, through the border of the Tosh Hospital as well. So that's where it's not actually in State Street.
Okay, got it.
We just reference it as the State Street project. But
Okay.
And this one is already, this should go out to bid later this year.
Thanks. So if we go now to the south trunk line on the southwest, that's a pipe that's doing just fine right now, but we're projecting that upstream of it, there's going to be some redevelopment. So when that stuff starts to build, once they reach a certain number of units they're trying to build, that's going to trigger that project. So that one's totally development related, depends on when people come in and where. I assume the city's gonna work with those developers to get that financed when the need arises, so. And then the north trunk line, that is right near where the system dumps into the Central Valley Treatment System. Just as growth occurs in these different areas in the city, eventually that's going to hit a limitation and need to be replaced with a larger pipe. So that we can't pin on one developer as easily, but just over time, the cumulative effect of development is going to hit there. So those are projects to help the existing system and to accommodate future growth. So there's a table in the plan that shows estimated costs. We've listed a range, which is interesting and maybe a little unconventional, but we'll explain that. I'll go back to this slide. So the orange pipe on this slide, this North State Street Corridor / Fairborn project. So we've shown it following a certain alignment that would work really well hydraulically, but it goes through a private road. And so the hope is that the city will be able to work with the landowner, secure an easement and get that built. But there's the question was also asked, well, if we're not able to secure those easements, what is our alternative and what does that look like? And that would be going along State Street and 4500 South, which when you're working in a busy road like that, just increases your costs for a number of reasons. So that's why that range exists. Perfect. Okay. All right. So as Ben mentioned, the South State Street project is funded. That's in this number, and then the Fairborn project is in this number. Those are the growth-related projects for the 0 to 5-year time frame. On the growth-related side, from 5 to 10 years, we're projecting that those projects will take care of things. And then further into the future, as more things happen, there will be more needs. So that is growth and growth-related capital projects and capacity-related capital projects. A separate consideration is repair and replacement. So the city has a sewer pipe lining program in place. You guys budget's $300,000 a year is what's been going on, and then they just, like I mentioned, is they're inspecting lines, see, okay, which lines have a lot of infiltration or which are in bad shape, and then they'll line those pipes to extend the life of the pipeline, and that's money very well spent. It's far less expensive to put a liner in and extend its life than to dig it up and put a new one in, so we recommend that continues. And then I have to give a few disclaimers. We don't have detailed cost estimates for these projects because we don't have designs in place for them. So there's some uncertainty there. We like people to keep that in mind when budgeting. And that we also like to say that, we have our timeframes for these projects. Those timeframes will shift as development patterns change. If something really big comes in, it might need to speed up. So time is something to think about, but we want to tie it back to the actual physical need. So, and things are constantly changing in the market. And then we also like to, again, distinguish between these growth-related projects and maintenance projects. Just different purposes, different needs, different funding streams. So, that's what we've got for you. What questions do you have?
This probably is more for Bill. I'm wondering, this doesn't include the annexed area.
Correct. This is just the Murray City Collection Systems. Anything east of 900 East, this does not incorporate. Yeah. So this is basically historical
What do we
Murray.
do about that? That's about
So
a quarter of my district.
So Cottonwood Improvement District serves 90% of that. Mallwood just serves just a little portion as well. So Cottonwood, they have the same plans in place. They have a master plan that they keep updated as well. Same thing. They coordinate with us, engineering
That's
with
what I was
Public
concerned
Works.
about.
Yeah, whenever they have projects going on, stuff like that, whenever we do road construction projects, we work with them to, if they have a line that needs to be replaced or something like that in a road we're gonna go construct, we make sure that's taken into account. But they do the same thing with their system as well.
And I regret not providing that background up front, so thanks for asking. Yeah.
Okay.
In theory, will these projections include cost increases to
So-
these in the near future?
So that is one thing, now that this is complete, we are looking at that. We are looking at tweaking our model a little bit though. So we wanna just make sure every customer is paying their fair share. And so we're actually starting, we're starting this month. In the next 3 months, we're gonna do sampling with Central Valley on a good portion of our grease traps and oils water separators. Those are all installed at commercial places, food establishments. But we are looking at changing the model a little bit because the food establishments, places that have separators and grease traps, in theory, they really are the ones that are contributing the loading and stuff like that, that we pay essentially a little bit more for than the normal resident. So we're looking at a component, where we're charging a little bit of a surcharge to those establishments, just to make sure they're paying their fair share. And we don't have to add that onto every resident's bill to help pay for that. Because our flow to Central Valley, it comes down to, our flow is a portion of it, but really the higher percentage of what we pay on it's the BOD and the TSS, and that's the solids that are in the flow and the other organic material and other contaminants that are in the flow. And those aren't coming from residential for the most part, right? They're coming from commercial establishments. And so we wanna make sure we're evaluating that now. There's a lot of other cities and districts that have a rate process structured like that. So we're looking at that, and we will be coming to you with some further discussion in the future on
Good,
that.
that's
Thank you.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
So,
Thank you, guys.
okay,
Good.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, our next discussion is on a bond parameter resolution to split water and wastewater bond documents. Brenda Moore is presenting.
So thanks for letting us come. This is Matt.
Hi, Matt.
He's with Stiefel. He is our bond advisor, financial advisor when it comes to bonding. We don't have a fancy presentation. This is pretty simple. I do have a memo that Matt actually explains it much better than I did in our little thing. But we basically have bonds out there, one for wastewater and one for water, that are the original documents that set out all the parameters and all of the covenants and say, are combined. Because I think way back in the day, wastewater was a Department of Water, would be my guess. So now they are treated totally separately. Wastewater has its master plan, water has theirs, they have their own rates, they have their own projects they need to do, but their bonds are still intertwined. Currently, we have two bondholders, DEQ and the Gold Estate. One is the Department of Environmental Quality and the other is Board of Water Resources. So while there's only two bondholders out there, we decided that it would be a good time to split these into separate original documents.
so that wastewater is responsible for theirs, their bond covenants, water is responsible for theirs. To do that, we basically have to do what is called a refunding. And so we pay off the original bonds and we issue new ones under their own bond documents with the exact same terms, exact same amount, exact same payments. So all the covenants are the same. We're just refunding, and the 2012 wastewater will become the 2026 wastewater, the 2019 water will become the 2026 water. They will be separate, and from then on, they will just all be responsible for their own bondings. No payment changes, it doesn't extend the life. I think the only cost that will be involved is some lawyer fees to write up all these new documents. So that's the only cost involved, and I think in the long term, it will be a very good thing to have them separate. Stormwater, they've always been separate. Don't know why, but they have their own. Of course, the general fund does their own sales tax bonds. We've never had to do anything for garbage, so that's what we're doing.
So is the reason that you wanna separate it just to make it cleaner, or, I mean, what are the advantages if it is gonna cost, have some cost, so? What are the advantages?
In my
I'm not
mind,
sure.
the advantages is if the water system needs a huge loan, the wastewater system, and they need a loan, well, if water's already done theirs and there's no bonding capacity left, wastewater can't do theirs. Because they're combined, so they look at them combined. And I would prefer
So it's just
that
clean.
they looked at them individually, so if wastewater needs a bond for whatever they need to do, they're only looking at wastewater. And the wastewater fees are only, it provides flexibility. Right now, there's enough turn, they have enough coverage individually to cover their own. It just actually makes it look a whole lot better if you combine them, because one of them's got huge coverage and one of them's got relatively good coverage. So I think water's is relatively good and wastewater's is way over the top. They've got tons of bonding capacity. So it just makes it simpler for the future, and where we treat water and wastewater as separate entities all the way across, we figured this was the last thing that we needed to split to make them. And we were gonna do this as part of the water bond anyway, but then we decided we didn't need to do the water bond because we're not doing the big expensive well project right now. So we'll just get this done, and then in the future, if water needs another bond, it's available and wastewater will not be impacted.
And if I may, Brennan, add also, I'd say this is, this has been done before, and especially as cities have matured in their enterprise funds, those cities that do provide for water and sewer, oftentimes they do start together. And so just, again, as they mature and these funds become standalone strong funds, then they do end up separating them. It's a legal separation through the bonding lens. And so other cities have done it.
The state had no problem. We had a big meeting with their attorney and the board's Zoom meeting, and they have no problem with us just splitting these and leaving all the jumps the same.
Are we looking at this now, is it in relation to the master plan we just saw and the thought that maybe there will be a need for a bond in the future?
Not specifically, but there could be, depending on how all of those projects, when they finally get to them, work out, then yes, they may need to bond in the future.
Does having an additional bond, just like number of bonds, affect our credit and ability to get other bonds for other needs?
No, they're individual. So if wastewater gets a bond, it does not affect what we can do in the general fund for sales tax. They're totally,
It
and it does not affect what water can do or stormwater. They look at them individually.
The credit's looked at as separate entities.
Yes, they're looked at as totally separate entities.
Your bondholders just look at the revenue stream whether it be water revenues or sewer revenues or
It's like
sales
separate
tax.
businesses.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Okay.
We'll just hand out this, it explains it a little better than my memo did. And I will get a copy for, I'll send it PDF.
All right, and we will move into the lightning round of this meeting.
Thanks, Matt.
First is gonna be accounts, so we got reports from boards and committees. Council of Governments, Kim Sorensen. You wanna take that, and VEC, Metro, Utopia. So we'll give you 10 minutes and you got a lot.
I'll take 10 minutes.
I get 20 minutes, Adam.
Wow, overachieving over there. Jennifer wants you to talk longer, is what I just heard. So you got 20.
He looked at me. I'm going, I didn't.
Or 10, whatever Adam's best. I'm just mathing over here.
Yeah, you're fine. We got time.
All right, so I've got, like you said, A, B, and C. I'm not gonna go in the order that you have it listed, is that okay? Okay, the first one is Utopia and UIA combo together. So key trends from Utopia Fiber with consideration of just Murray. Total availability grew to approximately 18,000 serviceable locations. That includes business and residential. Residential subscribers increased to more than 4,500. Total subscribers, which included both, was 5,400. Residential take rate, which has remained fairly consistent, is 34%. That means that anybody that has Utopia in their home, about 34% are actually subscribed to Utopia. Take rate increased to approximately 30% for total take rate. That's business and residential.
Last time they were doing like soft sells with Utopia. Are they still doing that? Did it have an effect? What happened?
They are still doing that. Another thing that there was a little bit of growth. They are starting to do door to door. They haven't done door to door in Murray yet, but they will be starting door to door within the next year. Door to door will only go to homeowners that have Utopia or have fiber optics in their area, but are not using Utopia. So. Debt, just for your information, fiscal year, the debt is 2.0 million, excuse me, let me back up. Our payment to Utopia was $2.01 million. Payments to Murray, they paid us $579,000 and some change. Our interest, we accrued $1.36 million in additional interest. Amount owed by Murray on June 30th was $30.36 million. Utopia 2022 bonds mature in 2040. I tell you that because unless those bonds are renewed in 2040, the payment to Murray will be substantially more. System-wide
Can I ask
bond
a
balance.
question?
Yes.
The payments that Murray gets, do we just give it back to them because we still owe them money? The 30 million?
It's an accounting that it goes out as a payment and comes in as revenue, so yes. But the more we get, obviously the less we pay.
Yeah.
The more people who subscribe, the better for us.
The more people who subscribe, the better for us. We don't pay. System-wide, not just Murray.
Right. Tell your friends to sign up for Utopia.
We have it.
System-wide, the balance is projected to decline to $176 million debt. So the pledge that Murray received is going to receive next year is projected to be, and we're about the middle of the page, and is going to be, well, this year we got next year we'll get 619,831, which is an increase of $53,670, and I think that was about 7.8% increase. So
Does this mean that Orem and West Valley are more on the hook than we are, or amount of it together?
that means that, you can see there, Clark, 1% of the pledge was 12.6, and those two cities and Layton were more.
Okay.
Which
Could be worse.
which happened before any of you were on the council.
Cool.
Subscriber report, Murray is one of 22 cities that are completed with Utopia Fiber available to all residents. Utopia serves 83,000 total subscribers and approximately 75 residential subscribers system-wide. Again, Murray's residential take rate in May of 2026 is about 33.5%. Our take rate remains stable. We were at a little more than 33.5% in December of 2025, and we're now a little below 33.5% in May. We talked about door-to-door sales.
Sorry, I jumped the gun. I didn't know it was in there.
You're fine. Operating expenses went up about 15%. The budget passed. For your information, Murray voted no on the budget. The reason for that was they were giving their employees a 2.9% COLA. We have historically voted no when their COLA exceeds the COLA that our employees are getting, simply because it seems like we're paying our employees, we're paying their employees as well, so we were the only no vote. And the way that their COLA is figured is they take member cities, COLA increases, and they do an average. So the average this year was a little bit more for member cities.
There's some cities doing pretty high COLA.
There was some that were very much. Yeah. Revenue, you can see that revenue also went up. It went up 16.3%. Most of that is new members or new people subscribing. They're also doing some fiber in some small cities in California that was profitable. And then here's a chart showing you basically what I've just said. So the good thing is revenue is increasing. Costs are increasing too, but revenue is increasing a little higher. Any questions on Utopia? UIA? Fire away.
Going to.
Clark,
You can go first.
it'd be interesting for the council to see, since none of you, Diane was here, but to see how much we borrowed. I can't remember, it's been so long, but how much we borrowed, the first amount, and how many years. I want to say it's been 16 years.
2002 is when it was first formed. I think it was 2004 before they started to borrow money. So
It'd be interesting to see how much, I can't remember the amount that we put in.
I'll have that answer for you next time. Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, we're 30 million now, is that what you said? Be interested to know where we are.
Yeah, I suspect it shows that we have more money in because we are accruing interest on our initial investment.
But it was just before me.
Yeah, oh, it was before you.
Yeah.
That was before me too,
You were
because
there.
I had just started, and the vote went before me, Krista voted,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it was before me.
Just two questions. Recently a resident contacted me about somebody else putting in fiber optic lines. and apparently they're allowed to do that by state law. Is there anything we can do on a city level to restrict that, because we don't want people to use a different service and we want them to use Utopia?
That would be wonderful, but no, the answer.
They have right away
That's-
easement.
That's not, I know, that's,
We had a con.
that's not great, you know,
Yeah.
because we're on the hook for it, you know?
One, that's fees, and we said, no, you have to pay.
And I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. What's Utopia's like motivation to get out there and sell a lot more so that it increases and it decreases it a little, like, since it's already bonded and paid, you know what I mean? I'm like, what like makes them hustle so that it
Well,
increases the amount?
Utopia is really a business, and we're part of that business. And we sit on the Utopia and the UIA board. So they answer to the board that owns, so that they have a desire to continue to improve and increase revenues, plus they're paid.
Is the board still like it was when, I'm assuming it's the same, where it's not how many people, it's like West Valley had somebody votes, Midvale, and they would make all the decisions. Is that still similar?
We still have, we still have a weighted percentage.
Yeah, they're weighted.
The meetings that I've attended, which are the last 3 meetings, everybody is on the same page.
Are executives incentivized to, like, do they get bonuses if they hit certain things, or?
They do not get bonuses, but
So
they're able to maintain their job, and obviously their raises would be tight. If we're losing money, they wouldn't get raises.
They don't wanna lose money.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Metro Fire, annual dues remains the same at $2,000 per year. What this supports is arson detection, canine programs, special operations training, firefighting training camps, and other operational needs. Metro Fire is supporting and pushing VEC to come up with a reverse 911 system. A system that calls back or can call all of the residents if we have a natural disaster or a reason to call back. This is essential for major instances and public safety notification. Training and EMS updates, firefighting training camps are held each spring and the fall. All Salt Lake Valley agency except Unified Fire Authority are adopting new state EMS protocols. As you would expect, there's minor local variances with fire services. Wildland fire preparation. This was before we had all the wildfires currently happening. Resources are fully prepared for 2026. You're seeing that right now. Resources are actively tracked and coordinated for deployment. Joey reported today that one of our brush units will be helping with fires throughout the state. We don't know exactly where they're going to be. They may be moved from one fire to another, depending on the need.
It's crazy.
Okay, VEC. So June, last month, VEC rolled out Hyper AI, which is a non-emergency call management system. It's a time-based, it's time-based logic, adapts workflows and responses 24/7, 24 hours and 7 days a week. It adjusts depending on the load. Has multi-language support, so if someone calls in that speaks a different language, that they don't have somebody on staff that speaks that language, this will handle that. Automatic notifications can be sent out by text, updates and information automatically. It's a geo-based intelligence, so it knows location, knows the responses and what's available in that location, and CAD integration, so it connects and reporting systems with all of the agencies. So what do we expect from this AI? The first year we expect 60,000 calls that'll be automated, which is a 10% reduction in non-emergency volume, 55,000 tow events. So coordinates tows when needed. Modernized handling and workflow management, this is the kind of the key. The expectation is that calls will be 30 seconds faster with AI. Goal reduction in high priority call processing times. Benefits, supervisors will be able to focus on leadership training and mentoring. Dispatchers will focus on radio operations and field support, increased capacity for emergency response and public services. Basically, opens up time that a live operator can do their job. And then, of course, VEC standards is to answer the phone promptly, and every second matters. So that's VEC. Any questions with VEC?
Now, that's been an issue for them, hasn't it?
It has been.
Yeah,
It has
so
been.
it's good they're addressing it.
And then COG update. So as you know, Mayor Hales is the chair of COG. He chairs our quarterly meetings. Recently, COG elected 4 mayors to serve on on Salt Lake County's Recreation General Obligation Bond. The mayors selected, there were 7, I think, that were recommended. The mayor from Midvale, Harriman, Mill Creek, and Riverton were selected. This committee will evaluate the project proposals and make funding recommendations to Salt Lake County. For your information, Murray City did put in a request for funds for the outdoor pool. All of the cities received rejection letters basically telling us that because Salt Lake County was not an owner of the property or partial owner, it was not eligible. As you can imagine, it didn't make any of us happy, but it's Salt Lake County.
He said they won't give us a penny.
No. It does come up for a general obligation vote this fall, so we'll see if it passes. The other thing is TRCC, Tourism, Recreation, Culture, and Convention. Applications closed on June 16th. Murray City did put in an application to fund 50% of our ninja course in Murray Park. I feel positive that we'll get a good consideration on that. We'll see. And then the Utah Department of Transportation introduced a new Transit Innovation Grant offering up to $3 million per project to expand transit service ridership, and Murray is one of the cities eligible to apply. Not sure whether we'll apply for that or not, but that is my report. Any questions? Did I make your time?
Good. You did. You have 4 minutes to spare. So if you'd like to do a song and dance, we'll take that.
You've never heard me sing and you've never seen me dance, and there's a reason.
That's not gonna change.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kim. All right, Brenda has Utah Infrastructure Agency. I guess, yeah, you did do all of them. As I said that, I was like, wait a minute, this awesome. All right, Brenda's off the hook. Okay, Pam, you got Association of Municipal Councils.
Okay, so our first meeting, we just picked a chair and a vice chair. Ellen is going to be the chair and I'm the vice chair. And then we just talked about what they would like Salt Lake County to bring forward, some ideas that they brought to the Salt Lake County people. And the second meeting was on Parks and Recreation and open space and the open space master plan, and to let us know about the recreation bond. The third meeting was about water. I've had a couple of citizens that have contacted me, and this is the handouts that they gave us. I've had a couple of citizens ask me, can I water more than twice a week? And I gave them the website for Murray City, and I said, this is our guidelines. In the packet is, she also talked about the bike summit, which I'm sure Adam would like to know that. That piece of information is also in your packet. That is coming forward on August 18th. of this year, and they are going to meet in West Valley. And that's it.
There you go. Any questions for Councilmember Crowder? Okay, and Councilmember Bowen, you have Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling.
Thank you, thank you. So, recently, right before I was put on the board, Wilford got a new general manager, Evan, really sharp, like Evan. He has placed an emphasis on cost-saving initiatives, but also maximizing service levels, so increasing service and cutting costs. Through development and tracking priorities, the district has identified a total of nearly 660,000 one-time cost savings as of May, and then 455,000 of which will be ongoing cost savings. So combined with the 2025 savings, we've been able to quantify a total cost savings in 2026 of almost 1.9 million, which continues to grow. For Wolford, we just implemented a new payment processing system after a comprehensive RFP process. Point and Pay is the new vendor. And that is one of the initiatives that's bringing an estimated $139,000 of savings annually. Wilford's doing a big push to encourage customers to sign up for paperless billing. But for customers that really like getting the paper bills, they have implemented postcard billing. That started in June. And this, in theory, will result in $112,000 in printing and mailing savings this year, and $192,000 annually thereafter. You know, depending on some factors, but that's the estimate for just sending on a postcard instead of the full bill. Currently, more than 60,000 postcard bills are mailed out each month. So right now, the district is doing a seasonal container reservation program. It's going well, continues to get more popular. They're delivering more than 80,000 containers, not 80,000, 80, more than 80 containers per day, compared to 60 containers on average over the past 3 years. 33% increase in service through their marketing efforts. And they're exploring converting their container-based bulky waste program to a curbside bulky waste program with an emphasis on maximizing service delivery. For Murray, seasonal container reservation program, postcards will be mailed out on July 6th. For our east of 9th area. That's in theory. That was yesterday. Yes. It will be there in the past. Early bird reservations open up at the end of this month. I told them that it's kind of hard to, them messaging directly is kind of the best way for us to get the word out about that, because we wouldn't want to confuse all of our other customers that are not part of their program in Murray. So it's like hard to enter the newsletter and things. The reservation program will be provided September 21st. Oh, wait. No, never mind on that one. Okay. The specialty curbside collection service. What I was going to say is that they had a bin, like they had neighborhood bins that they were putting out in different areas, but they haven't been very well used, so they're going to focus more on the container reservation for people so they asked us if it was okay if they canceled the one that was going to service our area, but it was in the Holiday Recreation Center, so it wasn't even in Murray, and they said the last 2 times they didn't get much use out of it. People aren't going, and I said, I think that's fine. Any questions? Good. Excellent.
So did Was it Bluffdale or who pulled out?
Harriman.
Harriman, what's happening?
They're in the process, it's not.
So it's not,
There's another city one. Is it Murray?
What's that?
it's
Murray? Is that Murray? I'm just kidding.
Nope.
Oh, let's get that one out.
Yes.
No, and it's not.
It's not, it's not.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
You know, with all this happening.
But yeah, that's underway. They're still negotiating the final terms of that. I mean, Harriman wants more of the capital as part of it. I mean, I think they've come to the conclusion that they will be exiting, but Harriman's like, but we also want some of the stuff, like some, bins, trucks, things like that. And I don't know, it's a bold move, we'll see.
why should they have that?
Just because their customers and funds help pay for those things originally, so they feel like they have part ownership and they're exiting. They want. Interesting indeed. Yes, but there was another city that is also looking at joining. I want to say it's Riverhead. I mean, there's a city that is looking at coming into Woodford soon, and it would replace all of that lost revenue.
Okay. Thank you, Clark. All right, LPC, Diane.
Well, we don't have a lot to report. I mean, they, I guess, had their committees determined who was gonna be on the committees and what committees they were having, but we've gone to one meeting and that's basically what they said. There wasn't a lot that we did, so we don't have a lot going on in the LPC.
Okay.
We will, but not yet.
Okay. Great. And with that, we are adjourned
Good job.
until 6:30.
Okay, it is 6:30 and time for the Murray City Municipal Council meeting for July 7th, 2026. So, welcome everyone. All council members are present, as is the mayor, city attorney, city recorder, and Jennifer Kennedy. So we are all here. That's awesome. Now we'll start and welcome everyone that's come to visit us and those online. So we'll start with the opening ceremonies. And we have the Pledge of Allegiance from Erica Brown.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Erica. I really appreciate you doing that. All right, now we're at the approval of minutes. We have two for June 2nd and June 16th. Are there any changes or questions from the council on the minutes? If not, I would appreciate a motion.
I move to approve the minutes for June 2nd and June 16th, 2026.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes. We're now at the citizen comments portion of our meeting. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Step to the microphone, state your name and city of residence, and fill out the required form that Patty has over there. Okay? Citizen comments are open. Welcome.
Hi. My name is Chuck Dillard. I've been a resident of Murray for a little over 40 years, and I have been on the Murray Senior Center, Murray Senior Recreation Center Advisory Board for about 1.5 years now, about halfway through my term. And I'm here just to make some comments about the center and the future of the center. And I'm sure everybody's already aware of the fact that the population of seniors, not just in Murray, but everywhere, is growing very rapidly. And Murray Senior Recreation Center has been filling and is still filling a very important role in this growth. As I'm sure some are aware, or many are aware, there are many great programs, activities, and many people are participating all the time. And as a comment, I'd invite anybody to come visit. Corey, the director, would welcome anybody to come and visit any time and take a look at just how active and busy the center is. One of the issues we face are the fact that with all the classes and activities, many people participate, and unfortunately many more are unable to participate because of the limitation on class sizes, which is directly related to limitation on physical space in the facility. The message for the future is, for the city, for the council, for everyone really, is to explore possible pathways towards expansion. And if you come visit, there's a lot of ideas that get floated around just amongst the folks in the center about how that might happen. And it doesn't necessarily mean a new building and, the big plan like that. There's much more stepwise planning that people imagine. The center would invite you, and again, I just want to leave with the comment that the center is thriving. It's a very important part of the lives of many of the seniors in Murray, and the participation is increasing all the time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck.
Okay.
Okay, looks like there are no more citizen comments, so we'll continue on. And we are now at the consent agenda. Mayor Hales will be presenting. So it is to consider confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Dustin Lewis to the Murray Library Board for a term beginning June 2026 to June 2029. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Dustin, you want to come up? You asked me if you could come up, so don't act like you didn't.
Welcome, Dustin.
That's right. This is Dustin Lewis. Come on, everyone's got to know Dustin. Dustin has served many capacities in Murray and as the city manager in South Jordan. And just knows cities, I'm going to say it, he won't say it, but like the back of his hand. It's what he does. And so we were excited when we got his resume to come back to the Murray Library and serve. And so, as Diane said, we're asking that you confirm this appointment. Dustin Lewis to the Murray Library Board, as Diane said, for a term beginning June 2026 to June 2029.
Okay. All right. Council, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to confirm the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Dustin Lewis to the Murray Library Board for a term beginning June 2026 to June 2029.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. Would you call the roll, Brooke?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Bowen?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
There you go. Welcome back.
All right. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve. We really appreciate it. Murray appreciates. Okay. Now we are at the public hearing portion of the meeting. We have one public hearing, and that is to consider a resolution approving the city's application for a grant from the Edward Byrne Justice Acceptance Grant Program. Chief Burnett, welcome.
Hello. Hey, thanks for entertaining this grant. Just for the sake of the public hearing, what this is it's something that we get every year. We've had this opportunity for as long as I can remember, but the federal government allows us to apply for a grant that we can use for certain specific things. And then every year it's a little bit different as far as our funding. This year it's $25,620. And we usually look at what our needs are, what we don't want to, or I shouldn't say don't want to, but try to, things that we can utilize without going into the budget. So we're at the point where our tasers are getting old and outdated, and it's time to upgrade that equipment, and that's some of the is equipment that is very important to us. And anytime we can utilize some kind of non-lethal force, that's exactly what we're looking for. So the goal, or what we proposed to them and they've accepted, and what we're asking for approval from the public hearing and from you, is to be able to spend this money this year to purchase, I believe it's 10 new tasers as we start to transition into newer equipment. Any questions?
Any questions at this point for the chief?
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. And now we will open the public hearing for the public to comment. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and send it to the council for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the city's application for a grant for the Edward Byrne Justice Assistant Grant Program.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Okay. Brooke, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Bowen?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye. Thank you, Brooke. All right, we are now at the mayor's report and questions from the council.
Thank you, Diane. We'll just give you an update. Last summer, we were blessed to open 3 new projects of our Love Murray campaign. It's kind of crazy that it seems like it's been 3 summers ago since we've done this, for me anyway. So I just want to report on some of those openings. Since opening the Murray Museum in May, we have welcomed 3,671 visitors. The museum has become a gathering place, hosting state leaders during our legislative breakfast, welcoming regular school field trips, and providing residents with new ways to explore Murray history. The popular Lego exhibit continues to grow with the additions of more historic Murray landmarks. Just yesterday, we added a new America 250 Lego exhibit all about the building of Murray's first city hall and the beginning of our city. In July of last year, we opened the Murray Armory, and it has become one of our residents' favorite places. Before I go on, Paul Pickett had called Jeff and said, you know, what if we used the Armory for the soccer tournaments that are going on? Wouldn't that be great? So I want to say last Wednesday, I think it was last Wednesday, we had, and by the way, Paul, brilliant. We opened it up Wednesday, had about 150 citizens or people in Murray come. And then we had another party that we did yesterday, and another great turnout of about 100 and something. And so it was great. There were people there that Paul said probably didn't have cable, that weren't able to watch some of this. So it was a neat experience to be able to have a building that the residents pay for, and to be able to have them come in and use this. The Armory wasn't being used, so it was a great highlight. Thanks, Paul, for suggesting that. That was great. The Armory has hosted weddings, birthdays, celebration, proms, family reunions, community events, and even celebrations of life. Residents have embraced it, giving the Armory a perfect 5-star rating on Google. Beyond bringing people together, it has generated more than $265,000 new revenue for the city. You know, it's interesting, when you look at this, it's I don't know how many weeks it's taken, but how many days in a week? It's a lot. And it's been a wonderful thing. The citizens have just loved this Armory, and it has really opened the door for some wonderful things to take place. I think I already told you this, but my favorite is a few months ago we had Kearns High School, and they did their prom at our Murray Armory. I said, nothing better than having Kearns in Murray. That's what we love. So it's kind of cool, but it's getting used a lot, so thank you. Finally, we reopened the Murray Theater last September. Besides the opening of Lauren Allred and the great sold-out show of Harriet, we have hosted some really great concerts. We've also hosted some not so really great concerts. We're learning from all of it. We're improving all of the time, and we're working hard to find the right mix of entertainment. So this is, just so you know, this is something that we work hard on all the time. By next council meeting, I'll be able to announce a new manager for the Murray Theater. So that'll be taking place, and we'll be able to announce that next council meeting. So we're excited for that. It'll be a wonderful opportunity for Murray to get someone that has a lot of experience in this area. So that's what we're doing, and a big thanks to the City Council for your support. We appreciate it, and that's my report.
Okay, comments from the council? I also want to give kudos to Councilmember Pickett. Charles and I went to the soccer watch party, and we don't have any idea about soccer. So Paul was wonderful in educating us, and it was just such a fun venue, and people were just, I thought it was just a really positive thing for our city. So again, thanks, Paul. It was a great idea, and it turned out wonderfully. So with that, we're adjourned.